welcome back to my channel. Here is a place that we can advocate for disability inclusion to bring awareness and make the world a little bit brighter. My name is Janelle, and I am wearing a gray washed out shirt, and the background is my room. Just several different things in it. Today, I want to focus on disabilities. We have those that are kind of more visible to others, and those that are hidden, and I want to get into that. Oftentimes when people just in general think about disability, they think about those with visible disabilities. So, I mean, you can even think of like the parking spots have a person in a wheelchair. You think of people maybe using walkers, canes, leg amputations, arm amputations, genetic disorders, different things like that. And those are disabilities for sure. But I would say, just like you can't judge that person for their visible disability and treat them in any weird way, you also cannot assume that just because somebody does not have a visible disability that they don't have a disability, because there are those that people kind of call invisible or hidden disabilities. So people that deal with more visible disabilities often deal with a lot of people staring at them, a lot of awkward comments, rude comments, and it's not needed. It really isn't. I know that's what sometimes people think when they say certain things, or just automatically rush in to help without asking the person if they need anything, that they're doing good. You know, I'm doing awesome, I helped somebody with a disability today, pat themselves on the back and continue on with their day. But you still have to treat that person like a person and not just view them only for their disability. So for example, if you see somebody in the store that is maybe using a mobility aid, such as a wheelchair, a walker, cane, different things like that, crutches, you cannot just automatically assume that they need your saving with whatever it may be. They probably can't reach that. Let me grab that for them, and like following them around. There are so many stories I've heard of people's experiences of this. Don't do that. Yes, you can be courteous and ask the person, like, hey, do you need help with something, or do you need help, whatever the case may be. And they can respond yes or no, and if it's more nonverbal, you'll be able to tell in their body language as well. Maybe eye contact could be more of consent for your help, and maybe turning away or shaking their head no can be a nonverbal way of no, I don't need help. You have to keep those things in mind, not just rush in to help. Also, don't take pictures of people. There are so many stories I've also heard of people that look different physically, and they feel the stares, and then all of a sudden somebody's popping out their phone to take pictures of them because, like, it's the circus or something. We don't do that. Oh my gosh, that's just a big no. Don't do that. If you really want, I don't know why you would, but just like ask, I know sometimes there's people, for example, that are like really tall, and you might see them in the store and you're like, whoa, like my friend back home is not going to believe this. Can I take a picture with you? I get that. But I would not go as far to do that with somebody with a disability. Like, oh my gosh, my friends back home are never going to believe that you're missing both of your arms. Can I take a picture with you? We're not going to do that. Don't do that. When it comes to disabilities that are hidden, I say hidden because those are disabilities that you cannot just tell that somebody has by the way they look. So there are a ton of examples of these. Most of the time when I say that, people are like, well, what is an invisible disability, or what is a hidden disability? Isn't every disability obvious? No, well, it's not. And I'll give you some examples. There's not one look to somebody being blind or deaf. There are often times that people might say something or gesture at something, and the person that's deaf or blind does not respond. People automatically assume that they're being rude and get offended because it's not a specific look if somebody's deaf or blind. So those are just two examples, and how they can be in the world with you not just looking at somebody and knowing. Are there sometimes things that you may assume so, like if you see somebody with hearing aids or a cochlear implant, maybe you can assume that they are deaf, but those are not always visible, depending on the hairstyle, or maybe they don't wear hearing aids or cochlear implants. There are people that are deaf that don't wear either, and for people that are blind, there are people that are blind that might not be out with their cane that day or a guide dog that day, and might not be wearing the stereotypical black sunglasses. You just never know. It's just one of those things you just can't assume that person does not have a disability because they don't look like they have a disability. There are tons. Some other examples we have of invisible or hidden disabilities are cognitive disabilities, like developmental disabilities as well, people on the autism spectrum, learning disabilities like dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, other developmental delays, post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injuries, tic disorders, chronic pain or chronic fatigue, speech delays or auditory processing issues, autoimmune disorders or autoimmune issues, mental health conditions, mental illness, fetal alcohol syndrome, dementia, people that have experienced and survived through a stroke, sensory processing issues, and so many more. The list honestly goes on. But these are things that affect people's lives that you cannot just look at a person and automatically tell they have a disability. So never assume, if you're speaking to somebody or explaining something to somebody, that if they ask you to repeat themselves, or ask you to repeat yourself, or ask you to write it down, or ask you to show them a different way, that they weren't listening. Oftentimes people just think, well, you weren't listening, so no, I'm not going to go over that again. You never know what the person is going through. You don't know if it's a disability, like a learning disability, or something executive functioning. I mean, neurodiversity or neurodivergency in and of itself is a whole thing, and I'll do a video on that later. But yeah, don't just assume that because you cannot physically see that somebody has a disability that they might not need accommodations or aren't included, because those are important too. I think the biggest takeaway from this whole video is don't assume. If a person has a disability that you can see and figure, oh yeah, they have a disability, don't assume that they automatically need your help to come in and rescue them. Don't assume that they can or can't do something. And if the person has a hidden disability, don't assume that people's behavior is specifically because they're trying to be a brat, or, and quote unquote, be a brat, or misbehave, or, oh, you're just not listening, or different things like that. Either way, you never know. You can't just assume. So just treat everybody with dignity and respect. So that way, it just makes sense. You don't all have to know their whole backstory of what happened, how did they get this, were you born with it, did you have an accident, all the things. Just assume if somebody's asking for clarification on something, that just clarify. Don't assume that, they weren't listening, for example. Or if somebody needs a chair often to sit down, don't assume that they're lazy. Maybe they have chronic fatigue or something like fibromyalgia. You just never know. Key takeaway is don't assume. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe, please like, and please share so that we can spread awareness to make the world just a little bit brighter. Thank you guys. Shine bright.